All right, today we're diving into Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power, and we're going to tackle a really counterintuitive idea. Let's jump right into law number 18. So let me ask you something. When the pressure's on, when you feel like you're under attack, what's your gut reaction? Is it to pull back, to kind of build up your walls and just get away from it all? It's a totally natural human response. But as we're about to find out, it might just be the most dangerous thing you could possibly do. And that feeling, that urge to retreat, brings us to what Greene calls the allure of the fortress. It's this incredibly powerful psychological pull we feel toward isolation when we think we're in danger. I mean, the logic feels pretty solid, right? If you think there are enemies everywhere, the safest bet seems to be building a fortress, locking the gates, and just cutting yourself off. It gives you a feeling of control, a feeling of security. But Law 18 is here to tell us that this feeling, well, it's a dangerous illusion. So here is the law, laid out plain and simple. It argues that the very fortress you build for protection, it ends up becoming your prison. See, isolation doesn't actually protect you. What it does is cut you off from the very things that give you real power and safety. Good information, your allies, and just a clear view of what's actually going on. Okay, so let's really break that down. Why exactly is this natural instinct to isolate yourself so incredibly hazardous to your power and maybe even your survival? This really flips the whole idea of a fortress on its head. First off, when you're isolated, you're cut off from information. You're basically flying blind. Second, a fortress makes you super obvious. I mean, a castle on a hill is a giant, unmoving target. Third, when you're cut off from what's really happening, paranoia just goes wild. And finally, you're stuck. You have no room to move or adapt while the entire world is changing around you. And this image from the book just illustrates the point perfectly. This imposing citadel, it looks so strong, but it's actually a trap. Like the caption says, once you're cut off from communication and intelligence, you're just a sitting duck. It makes it easy for things to fall apart. And hey, this isn't some radical new idea. We're talking about Machiavelli here, the master strategist himself, and he argued against building physical fortresses. The real point is this. True security doesn't come from stone walls. It comes from social connections, from the goodwill of the people around you. You are so much safer in a crowd than you are in a castle. So if the fortress is a trap, then what's the alternative? Well, that leads us to the strategy Greene calls the power of circulation. Instead of hiding from the world, you do the exact opposite. You immerse yourself in it. You move among people, you talk, you listen. You make yourself a hub in the social network. Suddenly, the crowd isn't a threat anymore. It's your shield. You're no longer this fixed target on a hill. You're a moving, integrated part of the whole scene. And the absolute master of this strategy was King Louis XIV of France. He knew that real power wasn't found by hiding away. It was found by making himself the unavoidable center of his universe. And his stage for this was his incredible palace, Versailles. So here's his genius plan. Louis basically forced all his powerful nobles to abandon their own little fortresses in the countryside and move into his court at Versailles. If you wanted any power, any influence, you had to be near him. He literally made himself the sun, and everyone else became planets forced to orbit him. From that position, he could see everything, he could hear every rumor, and he could stop plots before they even got started. He controlled power because he controlled the flow of people and information. Now, of course, like all of the 48 laws, this one has a little bit of nuance. This isn't about being in a crowd 24/7. You also have to know when a temporary retreat is actually a really smart move. This is what Greene calls the reversal of the law. There is a time and a place for a bit of isolation, but, and this is the important part, it has to be used strategically, not as some panicked reaction. And this chart lays out the difference perfectly. On one hand, permanent isolation is a trap. It cuts you off, it breeds paranoia, it leads to ruin. But on the other hand, a strategic retreat is a temporary tool. You use it to gain perspective away from all the noise, or for deep concentration when you really need to focus. The key difference? One is a terrible habit, and the other is a calculated, short-term tactic. But even a strategic retreat has its risks. The book warns that spending too much time alone can lead your thoughts down some, well, strange paths, totally detached from reality. And isolation can be a bit like quicksand. The longer you stay in it, the harder and harder it becomes to get back out into the social world. So the bottom line is this. Think of isolation as a very specific tool in your kit. Maybe it's like a powerful medicine that you only use in small, prescribed doses when absolutely necessary. But you never, ever let it become your default setting or your home. Your power, your safety, it lies with people, out in the open. And that really leaves us with one final question to think about for ourselves. Look at the ways you might be isolating yourself, maybe physically, socially, or even emotionally. Are those walls you've built truly protecting you? Are they giving you strength? Or have they actually become a prison that you've built for yourself?